All right, Algebra 2, welcome back. We are doing page 2 of the Chapter 9 review. So this will wrap us up here. Number 15 and number 16, same directions as number 13 and 14. We need to describe whether or not the pattern of numbers is arithmetic, geometric, or neither. So I want to check to see if number 15 is arithmetic first. That means I need to either add or subtract by the same number. So to get from 38 to 46, I have to add 8. To get from 46 to 54, I add 8 again. We're looking good so far. 54 to 62, add 8. 62 to 70, add 8. This one is arithmetic. Because once again, I'm adding by the same number over and over again. 8 in this case. Number 16, let's check to see if it's arithmetic first, but I'm guessing it's not. So if I want to try to add the same number, negative 14 plus 8 is 6. When I add 8 to negative 6, I end up with positive 2. Here I have a negative 2, so it's not arithmetic. Let's see if it's geometric. Let's see if I can multiply by the same number. Now, if I want to multiply, let's just check some of the easier numbers. 0 times anything is 0. So I can never multiply by the same number to get to the next term once I come to 0. So I'm kind of shut down there. So that tells me right away that it's not geometric. So if it's not arithmetic and it's not geometric, it's neither. So we have run out of luck there. Number 17, number 18, these are actually pretty quick. We want to find the common ratio in the geometric sequence. Excuse me. 3 times 18, 6. Got another 6, got another 6. Verify that with a calculator. You're going to be totally fine. The ratio is 6. Here, this is a pretty easy one. To get from 1 to negative 1/5, you got to multiply by negative 1/5. And we can verify the rest too, but you'll see that your common ratio is negative 1/5. So negative 1/5. There we go. Okay, number 19 through 24. We want to evaluate each geometric series described. So number 19 and number 20, they just give us the list of numbers. Number 21 through number 24 is in sigma notation. You need to make sure that you understand sigma notation. That way we can pick out what information that we need. Okay, so we need 3 things. We need our first term, we need our rate, and we need n. Here they tell us n is 6. Cool. Our first term is 4, even better. Now this is geometric, which means that we need to multiply by the same number to get from one number to the next. So 4 times what is 24? That's 6. 24 times 6, is that 144? Yes, it is. 144 times 6 is 864, and so on and so forth. Now that we know those 3 pieces of information, we can use the following. And hopefully this looks familiar. S of n equals, we take our first term times 1 minus your rate to the nth power. That's all over 1 minus whatever your rate is. So let's just plug in what we know. First term is 4, so we take 4 times 1 minus 6 to the 6th power, all over 1 minus 6. When you plug that into your calculator, you will end up with 37,324. Now, generally we want to be careful when plugging this into your calculator. What I have found is the most surefire way is to type in 4 parentheses 1 minus 6, raise that to the 6th power, close the parentheses, hit your division button, another set of parentheses, 1 minus 6, close that parentheses, and then hit equals. That is what I have found is the most effective way to evaluate that on a calculator. However, my calculator, I realize, is a little bit different than yours. I've got one of those fancy TI-84s. So if you're using the TI-30X IA, I think that's the model, you need to make sure that you're being especially careful with plugging everything in. So let's crank down to number 20. We're looking for those still same three things of info. So T1, R, and N. We're still looking for those. First term is right here. That's -2. N is 8. Now we got to figure out the rate, the common ratio. What are we multiplying by to get from one number to the next? Well, to get from 2 to 8, I need to multiply by 4. Yikes. There we go. To get from 8 to 32, multiply by 4. From 32 to 128, you still multiply by 4. There we go. Jeez Louise. So my rate is 4. Plug it into the formula that I have on the left. I'm not going to copy that same formula down again. I'm just going to plug in everything into the right place. So we have a -2 times 1 minus, my rate is 4 in this case, and I raise that to the 8th power divided by 1 minus 4. Whenever you plug that in, you get negative 43,690. So 43690, that's what you get. Now, number 21 through 24, you may have noticed good old sigma there. You thought putting the alphabet in math was bad. Try Greek. That's a lot of fun. Okay. So, the nice thing about this is it actually gives us all the information that we need, believe it or not. So, in sigma notation, they usually give us a variable. In this case, it's k. And they give us whatever n is on top. So n is always going to be on top of the sigma. Your term 1 is going to be the very first thing that's listed, times your rate to that variable on the bottom minus 1. So knowing that, we compared what I wrote in red to number 21, and we can pick out, we can kind of fish the information that we need. Now, there's a number in front of that too. It's understood to be 1. So my first term, therefore, is 1. My rate would be 2, and n would be 8. And we're still going to use that same formula that I wrote right here. We're still going to use that guy right there. The Sn equals T1 times 1 minus r to the n over 1 minus r. Still using that same formula. Excuse me. So I'm going to try to write this as small as I can because I am running out of room. So term 1 times 1 minus your rate to the n power over 1 minus your rate. Whenever you plug all of that into your calculator, and again, you may need to be a little bit more careful with that, you get 255. Number 22, let's compare this to what I wrote on the left in red. I'm going to maybe circle it so we can kind of pick it out. So if I'm looking at that, I know my n right away is 8. My term 1 is what's out in front, which is -2. And my rate is 3. Now that we know those 3 pieces of info, we can go ahead and plug it into that good old formula. Again, it's over there on number 19. Maybe I'll circle that one too. So plug it into that formula there. So I'm going to say -2 times 1 minus 3 to the 8th over 1 minus, this time, I say, what am I on, number 22? I say 1 minus 3. Whenever I plug that into my calculator, again, making sure I'm being careful by plugging it in, I get -6560. Here's number 23. Here we want to definitely be especially careful. So once again, we're in sigma notation. Let's kind of pick out what we know. Here my n is 7. Again, n is always on top of your sigma. So n is 7. My rate has the exponent with it. So here my rate's -5. My first term is in front of the term with the exponent. Since there's nothing really written there, it's understood to be 1. It's 1 times -5 to the k minus first power. So let's plug in everything that we know. And again, we want to be especially more careful plugging in this one into our calculators, because if you miss a parenthesis, you're going to get a wacky number. So here's how I would plug this in. I would write 1 parenthesis, 1 minus another parenthesis, -5, close that parenthesis, to the 7th, close parentheses, divided by parenthesis 1 minus another parenthesis, -5, parentheses. There's a lot of parentheses there, I know. But this is the surefire way to not confuse your calculator. Otherwise, like I said, you're going to end up with a weird looking answer and it's not going to match what we have on the key. So if you plug it in like this, you're going to get this number, 13,021. Be careful plugging that in. Like I said, that one can be no bueno. All right, number 24. Compare it to what I've got on the upper left there, circled in purple. We know n is 7. We know our first term is 4. And we know our rate is 5. Again, I'm just picking out all the information from this base model over here. Let's go ahead and use that evaluation formula. So term 1 times 1 minus my rate to the nth power over 1 minus my rate. My rate, not 5. Wait. T1 is 4. N is 7. R is 5. Term 1. Okay, yeah, I'm right. No. I may just be losing my mind. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. So, okay, now we're in good places. And whenever you plug that into your calculator, you get the following. 78,124. There we go. I lost my place in my notes. That's why I put down the wrong number. Okay. So here we go. We actually have 2 more. We are skipping 26 and 28. So forget about those. We're only doing number 25 and number 27. Number 25, we know it's geometric. That's going to help us. Now, here's the method that you may have seen in class. To find that missing middle term, I'm going to take this 3 and this 108, and I'm going to multiply them. So 3 times 108, that gets you 324. Okay, where do we go from there? Now, we take the square root of 324, and that gets us the middle term, 18. Cool. Number 27, a little bit different. So here they tell us it's arithmetic. Cool. How do we do that one? How do we find that middle term there? I'm going to take this guy and this guy, -32, and I'm going to add them. So -32 plus a -92, and once I've added them together, I'm dividing them by 2. And that'll actually get me my middle term. So whenever I add them, I get -124. Divide that by 2, you get -62. So -62 is my missing term.